Should be good to go. Yeah. Was it Apex break even? Well, I have buffers on Apex, so it doesn't even matter. Once you go over the buffer, like you can take a 20-hour break even and it won't matter. How do we anticipate those shorts? Honestly, I don't like them because, like, look at YM, dude. Like, I don't like shorting this kind of stuff, to be honest. I don't care if there's two-stage SMT or whatnot. I'm not going to short that. Just like you didn't see me short anything, like, in here. So, like, there's, I think, like, this day. You see all these like highs are here. Like I would never really short any of this. Now, granted, I did take a small short here just to get this low, or was it this low? But that's like after it reversed. So like if you want to take it like after it actually reverses, like I'm not gonna top tick it though. Like I'm not gonna trade up here. If you want to trade it after, you know, we failed to manipulate, blah blah blah. Maybe you could have done that, but I just decided to call it a day. But stuff like that, where it's like super counter trend. Like typically, if you're gonna leave a high like that, it's gonna be a retracement. I talk about that a lot. Like probably a retracement. I'm just not gonna trade it. I'm not gonna like anticipate it. You know, like how am I gonna anticipate like any of these like at the very high? You know, once it's actually like reversed and then it's showing me that it wants to go to a certain low, like an opposing low, then like maybe you can take it. It's still like lower probability though. But this is a bit different. Like this is a two-stage PSP up here. It's a bit advanced, but yeah, my question is, do you count today YMS two-stage PSP and S&P failed on 4? Like on the closure of this candle? How is that a two-stage PSP? Wait. No, I don't know. I don't know how you see that as a PSP. This 6 a.m. candle? How's that a PSP? No, it can't be that doesn't matter because it took the low out. You see how it took out the previous candle's low? If this right here, let's say this is the previous candle's low, and then this 6 a.m. candle created a failure swing, that would be a two-stage PSP. But yeah, there is like cracks and correlation. There's a crack, guys. There's a crack and correlation in every single reversal and retracement in the market, like every single one. Like literally every single one. There's some type of like PSP or SMT. Doesn't mean I'm gonna trade all of them. Like the buys were really, like they offered a really good move, like very, very good. I just let like 3R come back to my entry, like literally. Like this is my entry and yeah, like 3R. This is my TP. It was actually diabolical. Dude, where is it at? Oh. Like this is my TP. It offered a great move. Like if you took this, like great trade, you know. It just sucks that I wanted this high. I did not partial at all either. I got missed by that much. It's just stuff that I can't really anticipate, bro. It's like you just gotta be fine with it. It is what it is. You can do everything right and still not make money. Three-minute post open in queue long. Let's see. Okay, so post open. Oh, like right here? Like this high in the range type shit? No, post open. What long can you take? Like this, maybe? Are you counting that as a CSD? ES. Okay, so it probably is an SMT here, right? So like this SMT. I don't think it's horrible, to be honest. Like I don't think it's horrible. I think one of my friends took this actually. on stream. I don't think it's horrible. Yeah, I don't think that's that bad, because if we're gonna continue, it's like it's gonna be from this range, you know? Like that's your one shot for a continuation entry for sure. It's not bad. I think there's like a 30-minute fair value gap here. Yeah, like if we're gonna continue, it's gonna be from there. So if that's your one stab at a continuation, then sure. I'm just entering down here at the more of like around the reversal. Typically where I want to be at. I got a hella crazy fill here because I put my limit at the retest of this high as like a breaker almost. It was like perfect. Put my stop loss around EQ of this wick because it shouldn't be going that deep. It's the strongest asset anyways. And then I wanted this high up here. I was just going to hold no matter what. Got break even though. But yeah, that's not a two-stage PSP though, Freg. Normally I'd look for SMTs to enter on 3-minute, 5-minute, but if all 3 assets tap to a fair value gap, then all 3 close opposing candle. Yeah, I personally don't require SMT in the lower time frame. I require it as like within swing points of like 30-minute and up opposing candles, which naturally is like an SMT at the lower time frame reversal, but within the continuation, I don't personally require it. I'll just trade that like strongest asset and you're typically going to be fine. Just got here, what'd you miss? Literally nothing. Not much. Did you catch gold today? Nah. It's just a little too ugly for me around the open. Like, yeah, we had like this going on for us. You know, you had like this previous day fair value gap or whatever. But if you actually look in this candle, it just looks like consolidation to me. Like literally, like from this low to this high, it just looks like consolidation to me, to be real. Looks kind of gross, you know. I know we have like some internal SMT within here. It might be sequential. Yeah, it is sequential SMT, but I don't know. I just didn't. I can't feel comfortable just longing this prior to the open. Look at it. I mean, it's just kind of gross. So I'm not going to long that prior to the open. So if you miss that, it's like, what is there to take? You know, there's actually a decent counter trend short here. Look, it's decent. Just to go back within this range here. It's a 2-stage SMT to go back to this gap. Just counter trend to the weekly and daily candle. Because there at one point there's SMT here. But and then you're going to see that there's an SMT fill here with the weaker assets so that these assets can catch up. As you see, at one point this is SMT, but you get the SMT fill. It's important that this asset switches to a stronger asset after this high is engaged so that this asset can catch up. So there's like little range plays on gold today. But as far as the main move, no, I can't really take that. And I was already in like 2 assets. So I was in, well, not assets, but I was in YM and gold, or NQ, sorry. So I thought that was gonna be enough for today, which it was. Like it was a good move. But around market open, we see the assets switch strength, but at some point in the day, they resync, and that's when. Wait, are you talking about today or just in general? Yeah, that's gonna be a lesson on like asset synchronization at some point. Garrett really shorts clear today. I mean, the only thing that was like messing me up, dude, if YM took this high, hell yeah, in my opinion, like that would have been super, like way more clean if we just took this freaking high. Like seriously, it would have been like so clean to me, but it just didn't. So it's like, now once it starts to break down and whatnot, then yeah, potentially you could have. But at that point, it's like there's just no opportunity to get in. It just fucking rips, you know. So I'm not gonna chase this. This is like 1 minute structure here, which I don't really enter on. There's only one chance to get up here, and if you're gonna sell up here, I just don't think it's not as clear to me, honestly. Not gonna lie. 6-hour PSP. Yeah, I think there is like a 6-hour. Yeah. Yeah, it's just a, well, no, there's no PSP actually. Yeah, this is a PSP, but it doesn't matter. This doesn't matter as a PSP because it ran this high out. So it's irrelevant. Around market open. Let me see. Okay, I already went over that. So the PSP isn't valid because the PSP. Yeah, exactly. It can't be a PSP. Like, if a PSP is a reversal candle. So like, if this is a PSP, right? You don't want this high to be taken out. That's clearly not a reversal. That means it failed, right? So it has to do this. Or an SMT with that high, like that. That would be a 2-stage PSP. Garrett, 2 losses, no dubs today. Well, they're not losses. They're just break-evens. I gave back a lot of money today to the market, but I didn't lose any. Garrett, oh wait, did you enter on the? Yeah, I did, just because like the RR from this fair value gap, where was it? Like if I entered this fair value gap, for example, it's like that RR is just not it. You know, wherever you put your stop loss, it's kind of just the ass. So I just entered. It's not really consequent encroachment. It's just a retest of this high right here, which is like a breaker to me, you know. So that's where I entered. It was a really good fill. So my stop loss is around EQ this wick because you don't want to see price. So let's just measure this range to this range. I don't want to see price go way down in OTE. That's not what happens in a expanding market, right? So you can comfortably put your stop loss there, especially because I'm trading the strongest asset, by the way, the one that put in the fair swing, the SMT fill. So this moment, feeling like pretty confident about that. And yeah, it just didn't work out. Right? But it ran, you know, whatever, like 2.7R. This one ran 2.7-ish. The other one ran like 3R. So like that just sucks. If you just take like 2R on your trades, you would have been. I think they're really good buys. Like around 8:30. Like I love NFP. Dude, they're like the best days to trade, bro. I swear to God. And if you can get trades like this, man, where like 8:30 reverses, you want to get if you get in early on in that reversal, like it's just so clean. Like I would take this like 10 out of 10 times. Creeple. Did he actually? He probably did, bro. Would you agree that continuous 3-minute OB was also fire entry? I think so, yeah. I think that was fine. Like this one? Yeah, this is fire. This is fine. For sure. Like, this is like one of my favorite signatures. It's a reversal, right, with SMT and whatnot. But you get a displacement, right? A displacement that creates a gap. So you see how this gap here? Right, that is just a mechanical way of viewing displacement in the market. And also it validates that true reversal, creates a CSD as well. But we retest the gap, but instead of entering the gap, you wait for like a propulsion block from that gap. That's a really high probable entry model. And that often can just be like the fractal model, pretty much, right? In this case, it's a C2 candle though. But yeah, man, this provides like plenty of R, man. Like, it's not a bad trade. It just didn't hit full target, which is surprising to me. It's not something I can anticipate at all, to be honest. It just makes no sense to me. Maybe it makes sense to someone else. It doesn't make sense to me. I would think it could make sense after we hit the high. Yeah, for sure. To cap off weekly range, but to leave that fair swing is like nasty work, bro. When is it fine to enter trade C2? So you need to be in a key level because you're basically anticipating a swing point, right, or a reversal. So you have to be in a actual key level, right? And ideally you pair it with something. So a driver, SMT, in this case I'm doing both. And ideally you want a small wick, right, to support expansion basically. That's typically how you do it. But in this case with NFP, like I'm like pretty much trading within a reversal candle here on the 4 hour. It's a C2, right? As you see, it has this large wick, but you completely disregard that when you're trading a driver like NFP. It doesn't care about that large wick because it has so much volatility. It's just it can expand, you know, to wherever it wants to go around drivers specifically. But if there's no driver and you just have SMT, then you want to wait for that candle close to just trade candle 3, typically. Yeah, Sean, I think I answered that. New to this group, do you trade the fractal model using the TT? I do not. I don't use the indicator. I don't use any indicators. Personally, I don't. Gonna have to ask T. But I do use the fractal model, but more nuanced. I'll trade the C2 candle. I'll enter on the first CSD. More like narrative based. Well, obviously the fractal model is narrative based, duh. But I'm like trying to profile the daily candle, really. Just trading in line with that daily candle rather than taking like 15-minute, 1 minute and stuff like that. And just trying to catch the majority of like the daily expansion basically. And I'm just aligning different time frames. So I just trade the fractal model within the 4 hour candle, the 4 hour candle with the daily candle. I took that L2, yeah, that's fine. Yeah, it's recorded, Dala. Will you make a video or already have a video on premium discount? Because it seems like premium discount is pretty important since I see you use it a lot. Well, it's more of a, the way I use premium discount is within triads. So they call it's like, I kind of learned it from like quarterly theory. They call it advanced premium discount. It's essentially just a way that you can mechanically define when assets can synchronize, essentially. So we'll go over one example of that. I'll just go over that example real quick. It's just a way like you can tell that one asset is stronger over the other one, really, honestly. So we'll go over this example that I took. I think I took this. No. Yeah, I did take this. Okay. I took this on what asset though? Oh yeah, I took it on ES. Okay. I took this on ES. Why did I take this on ES? Because for one, this day opens low first. So again, we're using the daily candle profile. Right? So the day opens low first. Generally, that's a bullish day, right? If we look to the left within the previous day's range, since the previous day reversed, right? And then created that SMT at the previous day's low, or not previous day's low, but that daily external range low. We want this to open low from some key level that was, you know, created within the previous day's range, right? So if you look back in the previous day's range, there's a couple ways we use premium discount. It's to mechanically defined wick size. So if you look at this wick, right, and we look at the previous day's range, I don't want to see really deep retracements, right? And that just goes back to like phase of price, because in a bullish market, you don't want to see these super deep retracements, right? So and you also want to, it's a mechanical way of measuring wick size as well, right? We want to see these small wicks because they support expansion. So I look to the left, back within the previous day's range. I have this 4 hour fair value gap. I mean, this is really the only area for price to form the low of day from, right? So that's what I want to trade away from. So as you see, we hit this early on in the session. So this would be a great opportunity. If you're a London trader, this is perfect to trade this higher. This is like the best trade of the day, honestly. Like the most free trade of the day. Because at this time, like it's just 1800 high of day. That's not gonna be the high of day like 9 times out of 10. So this is perfect, right? The day opens low and everything. But for New York session, we're gonna look back within the previous, what's it called? We're gonna look back at the previous sessions and ask ourselves, did it reverse, right? If it did, right, then we're gonna ask ourselves, is there a key level from the previous sessions to continue from? And that's where we have these fair value gaps, right? And this is why it's important to understand and view price through a triad, because I know a lot of people took this 930 long this day, right? This is a day that's a little hard to navigate for sure, but, or maybe I'm thinking of another day. But if you look here, what do we have here? look at YM where it is positioned within this range, especially when we come closer to 930. It's actually a little bit even lower. But essentially you have SMT here, as you see with that previous high. Now, what makes this an SMT that's a little bit more significant is because of how this asset is reacting. You see how it's displacing away? Now, I do not want to see what in a bullish market. I don't want to see price being way in OTE. I think OTE is like the worst like concept of all time. Like I think it's horrible. I think it's really bad, to be honest. I would not advise using that typically, because when it goes to OTE, especially in a really if you go to OTE, it's likely to just take the range low, to be honest, right? So that's what we had here, like prior to 930. Like this is what we have. We have this asset really low in the range. So I'm like, I don't know. I really don't know if it's going to hold this low or just expand around 930, because this asset is way in premium while this asset is way in discount. So again, I can't take it like a positional entry on in Q. I know a lot of people did, but I cannot trust that because this is displacement now. You're gonna see a lot of strength switching going on here, but you're gonna see that this asset takes this range low, right? While in Q is in discount of its range. This is a very strong signature in price. And I also notice if we just take the current week's range from the current week's low to the current week's high, where we be positioned in that range in premium, right? Again, that's not a bearish like signature to see. This is not. We also have this like V-shaped signature. The weekly candle's opening low first, which typically is supporting some bullish, narrative, right? So this is just adding on to my context that we're going to go to this high. That's what I wanted to target this day, which it did not get to. But once we have this sequence where this asset is in discount, the other one's in premium, it's showing extreme strength on this asset, right? So let's also go to this closure here. What do we have here to continue away from the low of day? We have SMT at the current low of day at this point. And now we have this fair value gap to continue away from that low of day, right? So I would want to see, since the previous 4-hour candle did not reverse, right? I would want to see this 10 a.m. candle do what? Open low into this gap here and potentially create SMT, which it does do that. Now you're going to see this candle flips here, but at one point there was an SMT with this low. It's right here. Right here, right, yep. It's right here, boom. And we get a nice bullish move, right? Just going from internal to external. You're going to see price just leaves these fair swings, right? At the current high of week, which was my ultimate target. So I was in ES though on this trade. And there's also, I think there's a PSP as well. Let me check. 930, maybe there wasn't. No, I think I'm tripping. Yeah, I think I'm tripping. Yeah, there was not, okay. But we had an SMT fill, so you're going to see that ES takes out or just tags that 4-hour gap or the previous 4-hour low. So you have an SMT fill, which is, again, a really strong signature. So at this point, you have a 2-stage SMT because YM took out this low, right? So now we're just trading continuation, essentially, right? So any of these opposing candles, you can take higher, right? So I took this one. Nice V-shaped signature. Again, that signature I was talking about earlier, when you have that V-shaped signature, that's what signifies the reversal. That's a lower time frame reversal signature, confirming this SMT. And once you have that gap, that's really nice to see, right? That gap. So I entered on that basically, or this retest. But again, the opposing candles from a gap, you can also enter off, even though it's quite large. But I was going to TP this trade. First off, why am I entering on ES? Well, because here it takes out this high basically. So it's, at this point, it's like it already took out the draw on liquidity at this point. Or not the draw on liquidity, but like a closer proximity draw on liquidity. You guys know I like to enter before that, but if you actually check out here, once we have this CSD right here, this is what confirms to me that we have failed to manipulate this high, right? Because if we were going to continue, what do we want to see? We don't want to see this deep retracement back towards this high. We're actually just doing this basically, just closing below here to confirm this continuation, really. So if you go on ES at this point, this is when we form the CSD. So I can assume that NQ would continue higher. Now we have this CSD, right? So boom, that's what creates this SMT here, right? With that previous 4-hour candle low. So now I can enter this, right? Like this. I put my stop loss at this. I'm treating this as like a breaker again, because after this SMT, this violent expansion higher, I don't want to see this deep retracement back all the way down here, right? So you guys are seeing me a lot of times. I'm not putting my stop loss all the way down here. It's not really the case typically. So I want to get at least 2R, right? And notice how I have more RR here, right? I have at least, since NQ failed to manipulate this high, I can assume that ES can be the lagging asset to catch up to that high, right? And ES is going to be the asset that typically is the lagging asset. Typically when NQ is the strongest, YM is the weakest, and vice versa. ES is the middle asset. So meaning that it can usually catch up and break SMTs and whatnot. So I was going to hold this runner here to potentially the current high week, but I was really going to TP and watch it when NQ hit that high, but we never did. So you're going to see I take a partial win this day. So as soon as we hit this high, I take off, some of my position because it's at 2R. And you're going to see that NQ gets close as high and it's running towards this high. I think we're going to hit it, but we don't. You're going to see here. And the reason why I have to TP here, guys, at ES is because what is this sequence here, guys? That SMT breaking, right? So NQ already took this high out. ES trades into it, and look where YM is. Right, YM is creating SMT with that, right? It's also just a shitty profile in general. Like, honestly, it's pretty ass. Because this daily candle over here on YM, it's just consolidation. It opens low, opens high, opens low. It's just consolidation. So you kind of have to be a little conservative on a day like this. You have to take partials. But yeah, hopefully that makes sense. But there's many ways to use premium discount, man. Yeah, but we'll go over that later. But typically, the main way we use it in the lens is to define wick size. That's how you're going to use it. Yeah, advanced premium discount is a concept that you use with asset synchronization, really, which is a whole other stream. But can you have a check because GC had complete different for. Okay, so you're using the wrong feed. So you want to use the feed that opens its daily candle at 1800. So if you check the open here, the daily candle open is at 1800. You see that? So it matches the futures open. So I use this forex.com here, forex.com here. Yeah, that's important because if you don't have that, yeah, it's just like PSPs are kind of useless if it's not on the 30-minute or hourly time frame. I think mostly everyone long today. I think it's a great long. I think it's actually free. Like, it's a really good long. It's like textbook, to be honest. But as far as logic for shorts, what would that be? Okay, so like I think the logic for shorts is only valid when we actually like trade away from this high, because I can't personally trust this short until we actually start to break down. I can't do it. I can't like enter, let's say I can't enter in this candle through here. There's just no way, Doesn't make sense until it actually starts to displace lower, Me personally, I can't do it. You have this PSP here, which is a time-based PSP. So you see this is the 930 candle. 930 candle, 830 red folder candles. If they're PSPs, they're a little bit more significant because now you are aligning a driver with a Kraken correlation, essentially, right? So once we actually, we do print this PSP here. Let me see the high of day here, 930. 930. Yeah, it's not a two-stage PSP, but it is a PSP, right? because you see this candle is bullish. But once we start to actually displace away, it's like, okay, then you can maybe trust it. But really, I would only trust this, to be honest, when we actually start to come really, really come deep into this range here. You see this range? That's when I can truly trust that. I'm not going to trust it way up here, though. Because that, remember, PSPs, guys, two-stage SMTs, they can just be used for retracement as well. I think I answered both y'all's question in one. I took stop loss. I took break even. Yep, I did not like that. Yeah, I know. So like if we maybe did some shit like this, guys, like you see how there's this is just a bunch of expansion. Like you have no opportunity. I would want an opportunity on the 3 minute, 5 minute. On the 1 minute, sure, you can have something. Probably. 3 minute, 5 minute though, probably not. I don't think so. Yeah, like I'm personally not shorting like way down here. Yeah, I wouldn't do it. I think ES like had like the previous low as a draw, you know. But again, like if we did some some clean, like let's say we had a 30-minute SMT fill or something like that. Yeah, I could actually get on board with that, because at that point the market showed me that it wants to go bearish, clearly heading towards something. Right, we have a consolidation down here, but I need like some pullback. I need something there, you know. I don't even know if there's like a 15-minute SMT fill or anything like that. I really don't think there is. Yeah, I just can't do it, man. Yeah, there's nothing. So, it's unfortunate. Yeah, I just showed an example of this. Bro, what language is this? Are longs valid after 8:30 with yes, absolutely. I took that 8:30. I took 8:30. It's a really good trade. It's like fire. And it provided a really good move. It just like edged the freaking high, dude. Yeah, that's crazy for taking a full loss there. Because look at this. So you enter here, it trades higher, it retests your entry, it expands away. So what's the protected low now? It's this low, right? It shouldn't be. When do you think it's gonna ever do this? Like it's gonna come here, come all the way down here, into this like nice opposing candle here, and take out the low and then go higher. Like hell no, it's not gonna do that. Typically, it's not gonna do that, right? So, and at this point, it's like you might as well go break even. If this is your entry, it's like you might as well go break even instead of putting your stop loss here, because like it shouldn't be retracing this deep in the range, you know, where your entry is damn near the low. So it's like you might as well protect yourself there. You know what I'm saying? No, I don't think. I think this weekly range is exhausted, bro. So you're gonna see a lot of times that SMT can like cap off ranges and whatnot. So you're just seeing that this little retracement here, or whatever this move is, right? It's just capped off by SMT. It doesn't mean it's gonna reverse the, higher. You see the range is capped off. You're gonna see this all the time. It's just consolidating though, because that's just too much range. The market can't do this, man. Like it can't go like this. It can't go higher and then lower and then high. Like it can't do that, you know. Technically, this day like drifted higher and then reversed here and then went higher and then it went lower. You can't expect it to go higher again, or just keep going lower. You just can't do that. Just like too much range in one day. As soon as you see a daily candle have like a huge move like this and then retrace, typically not going to, and then like actually hit something relevant. So like ES hitting the previous low, it's not going to just continue. Like very rarely It's usually just going to consolidate or retrace. But let's say let's say Monday was coming around. Doesn't matter. Let's just use this as an example, right? Let's say the previous day reversed. I can use this for context for the next day though, because in theory, right, if this is a consolidation, I can assume that the previous day reversed, it expanded, and it consolidated. So now that I know that, right, if it consolidated after expansion, then this next day should target the previous day's low, because we're in a consolidation right now. So if the day is opening up within this gap, then it should form its high here to go lower. Does that make sense? But I can't really use it within the same day. Most of my losses or B happen when I am entering in a 9:30 30-minute candle, especially the first 15 minutes after opening. Can you help? Well, if you don't know how to navigate through the drivers and whatnot, because it does take experience for sure. Like, it really does. Just trade 10 a.m. continuation. 10 a.m. is the easiest. Like, just trade 10 a.m. GXT. Dude, it's like the easiest thing, honestly, like ever. Like, you're typically just entering on. There's only two scenarios. Like, seriously, you're entering within the previous candle, so 6 a.m. like New York reversal, where that candle forms like that C2 closure, and then 10 a.m. is just opening up within it. You're just trading the continuation, or you're just trading that you're just waiting for the 10 a.m. low to form from a 30-minute candle closer, right? So if you look here, this is what I mean by 10 a.m. continuation. So in this case, we would assume, or just mechanically, right? Look within the previous 4-hour candle. Like, what do we have here? We have this candle close, right? So 10 a.m. is opening up within that. See that? So within the previous 6-hour candle or 4-hour candle, we put in this reversal. So 10 a.m. is just opening up within it, like, right? So you're just trading that continuation lower. Does that make sense? Or the previous day, where 10 a.m. has to reverse. So if you look here, this is a 10 a.m. reversal. I traded this, right? So this is where the previous session did not reverse. So now 10 a.m. has to reverse. So if you look here, why are we expecting a bullish market? Well, it's just like I always say, if we leave failure swings, it's just a retracement. So what would cap off this retracement? Some form of relevant key level, right? So to go from key level to expansion. So retracement, reversal, expansion to take out these highs, right? Which is important because this is a bank holiday for one, but it's also Sunday or Monday high of week. It's just not going to be the high of week when you're this high in the range especially. So this is a relevant low as well, which is also the current low of day. So it's like that delay protraction profile that FEs teaches. So notice how this asset is below this range low. YM is in premium, right? This is also a 2-stage PSP because this candle's bearish. YM does not take out this low, also doesn't take out this range low. So 10 a.m. forming its low from a manipulation, but also a form of crack and correlation. When it reverses here, that is your it's like your intercandle CSD. It's forming the wick of the 10 a.m. candle basically. So you have two options here. Like you can enter, I think, hold on. Yeah, you can either enter in that 30-minute candle here, even though it's a really large wick. Just wait, I guess. Just wait, right? In this case, you don't get a retest if you're going to take a positional entry, but this is what I took personally. So here's the next 30-minute candle. It's the opening right here. Let's just mark out 10:30 right there. So obviously we don't have a whatchamacallit, like a 3-minute opposing candle, but when I go to lower time frame, I see this nice bulky opposing candle. Like if you pretend it's the 5-minute, 3-minute, this range is clearly large enough. That's all we talk about is like large enough opposing candles. That's literally all that matters, right? It also had a decent enough retracement, right? Where like you can trust this typically. So when this forms, I really love the way this PA looks. So we talked about that earlier. What is the filter for lower time frame reversal? So we have that SMT right here. This is the 2-stage PSP right here. We have that V-shaped signature. We have that gap. We have that CSD. That's all I need to see, right? So since this is a nice kind of a set of opposing candles here, I can typically trust that, right? So I interrupt this, and if we move to the right, so if 1030 opens up and just creates a CSD, I can now assume this 30-minute candle's low will be protected by these opposing candles. So I know that 1030's low should not go below here, basically, right? This is a form of intra-candle CSD where you kind of just open up within the previous, where like the previous candle's range also retraced. So let me try to, make that clear for you. So intra-candle CSD is when we open up a candle like this. Let's say this is the opening price of a candle. And the open low, the wick, is forming opposing candles when closed over, is not only creating an order block, but we can assume that open low, right, creating the order block when it gets closed over, is forming the wick of the candle, right? So simply just open low, the wick of that candle is confirmed by a CSD, right? Now this is a bit different where within that previous candle we expand and we retrace, and we open a candle here, right? So we don't have to do this. We don't have to open low and create CSD because you're opening up within opposing candles basically. So this is just when the candle just like expands and now we have a CSD, right? Where it's essentially protecting the current low of the candle. Does that make sense? So here would be the opening price of the candle. It's right down here. We can kind of make it right here a little bit more realistic, right? Where that candle just expands, but now it's like we have an order block where I can assume that, that's protecting, this order block is protecting the low of this candle. Does that make sense? So there's kind of like two different ways to use intra-candle CSD in a way. So that's what you have here. Because in theory, we should have opposing candle support price higher, right? So I can assume that's protected there. So I took my TP off up here. Does that kind of make sense? And we just bullshit for a while. It's pretty ugly, but we gotta ultimately get there. Right? Does that make sense? We're just creating all these, like, you see all these failure swings, right? I am not concerned about really this being a reversal, to be honest, because, again, it makes really no sense. My stop loss is positioned in discount of the range. So if we mark out from the reversal to my TP, my stop loss is positioned in discount, right? So it shouldn't be going that far. You see how it's just accumulating in premium? That's fine. You can do whatever it wants in premium, right? But we should ultimately get there, right? How do you choose the time frames you're entering on? Really just whatever presents first and is cleanest. So like then, right? Hopefully you see the logic behind it, but it's just really about like opposing candle size for me. It's like AM, like AM does the same thing. To me, that's logical. Also, this hits like a 3-minute fair value gap as well. To me, it's like the signature that happened before it, like that confirms the reversal. So now you're just getting on side with the expansion. You know it should happen pretty soon or pretty fast. So you see that 1-minute opposing candle? You see this wick right here? That is the down close candles on the 1-minute time frame, hitting this here. This fair value gap. NQ, where's NQ? Where's your, okay, hold on. This is, I hate, dark charts are so hard for me to see. Yeah, so this is a bit different, but I mean, yeah, this is how you view strength, right? So like, obviously NQ is stronger, because in premium of the range, I can barely see it. Is it? I can't even see like this, I think it's above it, I can't even tell. But yeah, you clearly see that this asset is the weakest, being YM, right? But that's not really how I use it, though. That is a way to gauge strength, though. But like here's a really nice continuation sequence, though. There's a couple ways to use this. So this is just going to be a universal sequence, all right? So let's draw this first real quick. When you have an asset, right? that is in EQ of a range, for example, or even in premium, and one of the other assets is running below this low. We've all seen this schematic. I'm sure you've seen it. It's nothing new, bro. You've all seen this schematic, but it's like when and where you use it is important. So like this schematic where you have the asset that's creating a fair swing is also in a gap. This is really high probable, like very high probable, right? And then you look for a secondary cracking correlation and you trade that to this high. That's what we saw this week on Wednesday. Where was it? Yeah, right here. Another one would be like on the higher time frame was around here. So you can do this with, you can do advanced premium discount PSPs as well. So let me show you that. So let's just mark out the, let's go to InQ here. Oh fuck, whoops. Or just like with previous candles ranges you can do it with, basically. But you can do it with PSPs as well. So mark out EQ of this candles range, EQ there. Not EQ, sorry, the high and low, basically. So as you see, this asset retraces into EQ of the previous candles range. Well, this asset is way below it. You see it's completely disrespecting it. It's way in deep discount. What is it waiting for? ES to take out that candle's low. So this is that sequence, right, where SMT breaks. ES is breaking this SMT. Well, this asset is way in premium, which is key, that this asset is way in premium. That's very key. This is where we see the strength switch. So while this asset is just consolidating, while the other ones are basically displacing into what? A gap here. And then you get that two-stage cracking correlation. This day was so free, like it was crazy. This day was so clean. So as you see, there's your two-stage cracking correlation via swing point. And that allows it to expand. Does that make sense? I think there's this day too, there's something here that I took. Let me find it. It's between like NQ though. Oh yeah, here it is, right? Yeah. So check this out. So I remember some people were like, why did you enter this when there was nothing, something about, I don't know, they were yapping about something, but if you look here, let's measure out EQ and discount. This asset is below that low. What is this also, by the way, guys? What is this like signature and price, by the way? Frag, you gotta tell me. No, I'm just like purely signatures. Hold on, purely signatures. Like just look on this asset. Like what do you see here on YM? Yeah, signature story. Yeah, exactly. Like a broadening formation. That's a continuous signature typically, and it's important. It's forming after what? A two-stage PSP, right? This is one of my favorite sequences in the market right here, guys. It's when you have a PSP like this. So note that this is a PSP, right? This candle right here is the fair value gap high is a PSP. So when it gets ran, right, that's creating a two-stage PSP. If I just remove everything to the left, this alone is a two-stage PSP, but the asset that's running below that previous candle's low, it's running into a gap, right? Creating basically an SMT fill. So it's like an SMT, it's like a two-stage PSP SMT fill, kinda, right? It's really high probable. So when you get that sequence, right? So at this point as well, guys, this is important to know as well. This current week's low, we have already expanded. You see how we already expanded away from it, right? What are we eliminating? You know, when we expand away from an opening price, what are we? In this case, it's expanding away from the opening price. So what are we eliminating the possibility of? Bearish week, yeah. It can't be a bearish reversal week, right? So when you have this sequence, like at this low, that's put, above the current week's open, right? This can just be used as continuation, right? So that's what we had, this sequence, right? You have this day, or NQ just retracing into EQ of that range, while YM takes that low. Really strong signature to go higher on this asset. So that's why I took this day bullish. And this happened late in PM session. So if you reverse late in PM session and you don't meet its target or whatnot, and you don't really expand away, then the next day should expand, right? And continue that. So that's when we just had basically just this, like you have this swing formation, candle 1, candle 2, candle 3. It's like creating a swing, right? Like basically forming the low of day, pretty much. And then you have this next candle expanding higher. So you can expect the 6 o'clock candle expand because candle 3 didn't really expand anywhere, right? So the candle that has the driver within it, which is 9:30, candle 4 should expand. So that's why I traded that. Did you say there was no low of day going into 9:30? I thought there was enough to be a low of day, to be honest. Like, because we have the SMT fill. If you like remove the SMT, then it can look like it, right? Because NQ just has like this kind of 1800 low of day, as you see. But there's actually SMT there. But I guess it just did its job, right? So price just goes from SMT, right? We expanded into whatever. In that expansion, I guess we got a new phase of price. But to be honest, like this is a pretty large, like if we just take the previous day's low to current day's high, like that's a very large range. So I guess I just wanted to retrace. Now, did I think it was gonna be this violent? No, I really didn't. Like that's crazy move. It's just pretty ugly, PA, man. Like there's no SMT at the lows, there's no SMT at these highs. It's just like consolidation, really. Not the cleanest week, to be real. What will I upload next on YouTube? I don't know. I was gonna do profiling with PSPs. Should I release that on YouTube? Kinda already did that here. Should I give that out for free? No more leaking? Yeah, I already did a stream on that. Do you take ES on Wednesday because it had a clear draw? I already went over that. Maybe you type that. I hope you got that though. If not, just rewatch. Yep, I always have 3 assets up. Trust me, it's the move. Trust. Today, no lesson on pre and discount? No, not really. I'll tell you the reason why. I'll tell you the reason. Well, kinda, honestly. I'll tell you the reason why. Yeah, honestly, that's actually really. Yeah, there definitely is. So the reason why you can tell an SMT is going to hold is pretty much exactly that. It's advanced premium discount. So look at NQ. Like it doesn't give a shit about what this asset's doing, right? We can even mark out like 1800 low as the range low, because you can use the current day's low, even though like don't take this like too like literal, I guess, because I don't just like have EQ at current day's low and current day's high. Just take it as like this asset is running below the current day's low, like way in, an EQ of like this range or whatever, like deep into the fair value gap, right? Well, this asset is not even hitting the fair value gap and not taking out the current day's low. So you see how it's in premium? Well, this asset's in discount of the previous day's range. So that's what I'm basically saying, right? So that's how you know it's going to hold, basically. And also, it's like we had this high available. So now it's like really obvious. Like it's like super obvious that we're going to go higher here. I think this trade is so good. This trade is so good. Honestly, it really is. Like it's actually fire. Like look, prior to 8:30, it's like this is the most obvious trade of all time. Like this asset is way in premium. This asset's way already in a gap in discount. So that's why I sent in the chat. I'm like, Dude, if we're gonna reverse, like it needs to do it at 8:30, right? Just going back to my driver stream or driver video on YouTube. If you're already in a gap, for example, like this, prior to 8:30, or any driver, and it has not reversed, well, you want to pair that driver with the reversal. So that's what I did. So it was a really good trade. It just didn't go to our final TPs. Like I would take that trade like all day, bro. But yeah, I assume this was the low day, to be honest. Like, if we're going to continue to this high, like, absolutely, it would be the low day. If we're going to continue to this high, it would be the low day. So I thought it was a completely valid low day. Can you review, please, second week, Friday, 2024, August? Okay, hold on, where is that? When was it? August 2024. I need to go on this. Should be this one, no? Should be this Friday. I remember this week. It was disgusting. This day? This week is super ass because of what Monday does. You see how it's a reversal week, but Monday's range is absolutely huge. See that? So it's a little awkward. It's like super awkward. Where we create like these equal lows and stuff. So it's gonna have a hard time. You see where the weekly open is here? It's gonna have a hard time because the wick is quite large. It's gonna just have a hard time expanding like past the opening price. That's why it's shit. So you can already come to today and be like, all right, this day is probably gonna be ass. Is this a fair value gap though? From the previous day. So like maybe you could take this as a small move, but yeah, as you see, it's just consolidation. So previous day, very large range into a high. So what can we get? A new phase of price. And as you see, this is the weekly open here. So you already know that price can't really expand beyond this opening price, right? Especially if there's no like driver this day. I don't know if there is. There's no driver, yeah. It's gonna be this. It just consolidates, you know. We already know it can't displace past this high. It already expanded the previous day, so it's a little bit shit. But this is like seek and destroy, right? Like as you see, it takes the high, it takes the low. So if you look within here, is there a reversal? So this candle did, you know, trade into this low or this fair value gap, but did it put in a reversal? Let's see. No. See, that's ass. Okay, it did here, but it did actually create an SMT here. Okay, you have sequential SMT. Now, it would have to like take out this low or something. Maybe like YM does not take out this candle's low. Or maybe you have a two-stage SMT with like the 4-hour candle. So this would have to reverse on YM. Oh, perfect. Yeah, exactly. This is what it does. So check this out. So this would have to be your trade, by the way. Like on this SMT here. See that? Now I don't know how the delivery is because it's seek and destroy day, but that high would be your draw. Yeah, it's fucking gross. But yeah, this would be the reversal here. Now, is there a PSP or anything like that for the continuation? There's a precision swing point right there if you wanted to re-enter or something. You have a bullish candle. Bearish candle. This asset already traded really high in this candle's range or this previous range, so that's typically a nice signature to see. You have equal highs here. So this is just a new quarter. This is a new 6-hour open here. We won't get like too deep into that, but I mean, I'm telling you, there's like opportunities like every day, but that's just a low probable day. You can see why, right? The logic behind it, it's like a low probability. Because the weekly candle and what the previous day did. Every day, when you come to the charts, how do you approach the market? Can you go through one? Yeah, so I just literally every single day I want to know if like I can work off the previous day's range to continue, or am I going to have some sort of reversal day, right? How do you anticipate reversal day? Is if either the previous day hit a key level, or the current day is hitting some sort of key level on the higher time frame, right? Because you can't anticipate reversal day if you're not in some sort of key level. Like this day, for example, like I can anticipate a reversal day. Why? Because it's in a key level, right? And we have equal highs up here. So you have to determine like what is this day likely to form? This daily candle, is it likely to form an expansion day away from the previous candle's range or previous day range, or is it going to be a reversal profile, daily profile, right? So those are two key differences there. So you have the idea, and now you just need a key level to form the low of day, to form the wick from. So now you're going to ask yourself, did the previous session hit those key levels? Right? If they did, right? Is there a reversal signature? Right? So that, CSD or whatever, is SMT, blah, blah. If there is, then we would look at a key level that the previous session created to continue from. So I'm a New York trader, so I would need to have like a key level from the previous session, right? Because if the previous session reversed, then we should continue in New York. So there's got to be some sort of key level, right? So something like this. Here's, London, let's say. It expands away. Ideally, there's an open draw liquidity already. That's another thing. You always want to have an open draw liquidity when you come into the session. Let's say the previous session created a gap. Well, I know that we should continue from this gap. That would be my key level to get from here to here, right? But let's say the previous session did not reverse. Well, then it's pretty simple. You're typically just going to reverse from the previous session's highs and lows, right? That's typically what it's going to be. Ideally, you want to pair that reversal and continuation with the driver, right? And then I'm just really filtering it out, right? I'm filtering out that idea of how, even framing a continuation day or reversal day with how the daily candle is actually forming, right? Is it opening high first? Is it opening low first? That's a really good filter for applying open, high, low, close logic, right? So there's that as well. That's probably one of the first things I look at. I'm looking at what the previous session did and how the daily candle is forming. That's typically going to tell me what my session is going to do. That's really it. Once we hit these key levels, I'm just looking for a swing point in the SMT. It's like a if-then logic, really, for session profiling. It's actually very simple. It could have been a positional entry today, right? You don't think so? Going short? Okay, so in order for me to take a positional entry, I have to be like 100% confident that we're going to reverse, which I can't do that. Like, we're leaving these equal highs here, right? I have 830 reversing, right? So it's like, if 830 is reversing, then I'm going to assume like that's a really strong signature to go higher, right? And leaving these fair swings, like I'm always going to assume that it's going to get there, right? Because how are you gonna anticipate a fair swing? Like you can't do that unless you have like some like form of crack and correlation or something, which we do. But again, I'm not gonna assume that it's a reversal because this could have just been a crack and correlation to just go into EQ of this range to be your retracement, right? So I can't take a positional entry there, but the only way you could take this is when price actually shows you that it wants to reverse, right? So in this case, it does. Like obviously, it definitely does, but it's too quick. So I would have to take a continuation entry, right, in order for me to take this trade personally, which it just never happens. Like it just expands. So like, it's just like not the best short of all time, in my opinion, until it really starts to break away. For me, just like you'd have to take the 1 minute on here or something, like, and it's not gonna do that, personally. Is there any way to use your stuff on the weekly? So I don't use like, I never use like I don't use like 4 hour CSD. I don't even use hourly CSD to be honest. But yeah, like you can use like weekly swing point. I do use weekly swing points, and really that same logic, right? Like GXT as a whole is like basically aligning expansion candles, like profiling a higher time frame candle with lower time frame swing points. You can do the same thing with the weekly and daily. You know, a daily swing point will confirm the high and low of a weekly candle. That's nothing new, right? But yeah, you can use the same thing, right? With monthly candles, it's all the same, right? You saw me do it here with like this monthly candle, right? Here is a 2-stage PSP basically. Here's the PSP, here's the SMT, right? If we go maybe to like the 3-month, probably see the same thing. You probably see SMT between swing points. Okay, we don't have it at the highs. Maybe on the weekly there is. I don't really see much here, but I mean, it's just like the fractal model basically, right? Here you have an SMT between swing points. What about over here? Here you have like a 2-stage PSP, it looks like. Yeah. That's a PSP there. You do the same thing, right? It's just like, I just don't use it on this like higher time frame stuff. Typically. After taking that low it created, continue to order block, which I continue to fail to manipulate. Wait. Oh, nah, but the context though, like, so that right here, that's like just pattern trading, that like idea of a failure to manipulate, right? A failure to manipulate is, how you want to use it is like within a continuation away from like a true reversal. So like, let's say my overall drawn liquidity is up here, and then we're reversing off of this, right? So let's say we have a reversal here. I want to see this high, like, fail to manipulate to get to my drawn liquidity, right? So if we trade into this high and then we fail to manipulate it like that, like that's a nice continuous signature. Like, there has to be a reason to continue. There's no reason to even trade lower, like, on that idea, like, because where is that at? It's this day, right here. So this is the current week high, which is relevant. It's like really relevant because it's a bank holiday as well. So when it trades into this relevant low, which is also the current day's low, that's a really relevant area. So you wouldn't really, this is where I'm framing a reversal. Like, I want to see this manipulated, right? So it's just a lack of context there. Where when I look at YM, it's actually, you know, creating SMT there and actually in premium of the range. Nice, 2 minute. Yeah, if you're looking at like 2 minute, 1 minute, maybe you could catch that. I just didn't. Really gotta study your model. The model is easy itself, like GXT itself, the mechanical process, like super easy. But when you get more nuanced, just like anything, it's just like narrative, you know, like narrative is the hard part. And I go very in depth with that. AIM is like a more simplified logic, it's really good as well. But you're gonna get less opportunities. If you want to trade every single day, you gotta get detailed with it, man. Like, you really do. You can't expect to trade every single day with like a lack of experience. Like, you're gonna get railed, I promise you. That's the truth. "12-hour video of your modeling too." I could probably yap for that long, honestly. I literally could. Oh, I don't know if they're gonna do that, Coffee. I doubt it. I'm not in charge of that stuff. That'd be interesting though. Today, best trade of the week. My best trade of the week was probably CL. maybe. Let's go to CL. This is a little bit of advanced premium discount for you. Even though this day didn't reverse that I was trading. So look at RB above this high. While this asset is in discount. This is what you want to see for when with SMTs. You want to see them like spaced out. Think of it like that. You want to see them very spaced out. That's ideally what you want to see. And then we're seeing an SMT. You're seeing a SMT with the previous day's high here. Right, so as soon as we engage at that high, this day doesn't reverse because the open is really far away, but the next day reverses. So I can come to this day like this. I can acknowledge that the previous day, what did it do? It hit a high, a range high, right? And the previous day expanded. So either way, when we have this SMT and this expansion, you can expect a new phase of price, whether it's reversal or retracement. So I can come to the day and be like, okay, this day is probably not going to be a continuation day. It's probably going to be a reversal day, right? So then if the previous day didn't reverse, as you see, then what would we want to reverse from? The previous day's high. So that's like the first step, right, when coming to the market. And then I see that, okay, cool, we have an SMT that's like even better. So that's a really good trade there, right? Now you have a swing point here. If I go to CL, now this like becomes super obvious. Now you have a daily CSD, but most importantly, you have displacement. You see displacement away from that SMT. That's what actually validates it. That's what validates it. So when you have a displacement like that, you got to go somewhere, and that somewhere is always in the form of highs and lows, typically, right? So this becomes a really nice draw on liquidity. When you fail to manipulate it, what can we expect Friday to do? Expand or continue. So if you look here, does this look like a manipulation? Hell no, right? It's consolidation, which is a continuation signature. So I could expect the next day, since the previous day didn't reverse, you should at least trade into this previous day's low, at least, right? But if we know how to use relevant swings, price just goes from relevant swing to relevant swing. We have a bunch of basically a consolidation down here, kind of like your original consolidation, basically. So it becomes like really nice little market maker model there, or whatnot. But yeah, that's what I took. I took this sell up here, but I got trailed out. I think I trailed right over here, but it was a really nice move. Like this little expansion move was like 7R or some shit. What's your approach after market expands in 3 days? Yeah, like a new phase of price, basically. Ideally, if I'm gonna trend in the same direction, it's gonna be like in the form of like smaller ranges, on like the hourly or 4 hour. Yeah, it's recorded. What do you teach on Lens.0? I don't know how much I can talk about it, but I will have a course, and it will go more in depth. It's basically, think of it like there's gonna be like 2 courses. Like one of them is just like as basic as it gets, like the simple version of your model. The next one is advanced, so going into, the more detailed and whatnot version of your model. You mean we can't? Dude, FEG is a good concept for sure, but 90% of them have no type of narrative, like, and they just go break, like Dodgy goes break even at like 0.2R. It's because he has no narrative behind it, so he wants to go break even quick because he has literally no type of conviction behind his trade, so he has to cope with it by going break even at 0.2R. How long have you been trading? Oh, like 6 years. Around 6 years. Any idea on ticket? I have no idea, bro. Like I don't come up with that stuff, guys. That's like all AM trades. It's like all AM. Well, Berk, it's not really Berserk. It's not really like new content necessarily. It's just it's like a new course basically. Like it's just kind of going into this. It's the same model, but it's more in depth, more on the nuances. But I've already told you guys like a lot of stuff that's not even in my course. Like I do lectures and stuff. We'll see like what I can add in my course for you guys. I have a lot of slides done that could definitely be a course. Did you start? No, I did not. I started trading in the army. Inverse fair, dude, like C2 candle, inverse fair value gap. What you know about that? Garrett mogging who? Oh, I know. Coffee. I know, buddy. I know. The lens has a big influence on the space. I'm telling you, if we like live traded, we would mog everyone if we live traded. I wish we did. No, not fees. Fees is cool. That's my boy. Yeah, Amari, we're about wrapping it up here. Yeah, I put my dog down. I'm dead. I'm dead. Will you ever live trade? Well, I can't live trade here. I'm not allowed to. Guys, I don't own the lens, guys. I don't know if that's like, you guys know that? I don't own the lens. And I just can't do that. All right, let me end this.